In Max Lucado's book, The Eyes of the Storm, he tells a story of Chippy the parrot. And Chippy never saw it coming. One second he was parched peacefully in his cage, singing a song in the air. Then the next second he was sucked in, washed up, and blown over. His problem began when his owner decided to clean his cage with the vacuum. And she stuck the nozzle in to suck up the seeds and the feathers at the bottom of the cage. When the nearby phone rang, instinctively she turned to pick it up. She had barely said hello when swoop, Tippy gets sucked in. And she grabbed the phone and gasped and let the phone drop and switched off the vacuum. With her heart in her stomach, she unzipped the bag. That was Chippy, alive but stunned, covered with heavy gray dust. She grabbed him and rushed him to the bathtub, turned on the faucet full blast, and held Chippy under the torrent of hot, cold, ice cold water. And she actually power washed him clean. Then it dawned on her that Chippy was soaking wet and shivering. So she did what any compassionate pet owner would do. She snatched up a hair dry and blasted him with hot air. Did Chippy survive? Yes, but he doesn't sing much anymore. Perhaps he just sits and stares a lot. It's not hard to see why. Being sucked in, being washed up, being blown over, it's enough to steal the song from your heart. And life can be like that sometimes. You never see it coming, but life just sucks you in, washes you up, and blows you over. Sometimes we, like Chippy, are sucked into a vacuum of vicious circumstances, washed over by worry and weariness, and blown over by the winds of the burdens and the buffets of life. That is exactly what happened to Job. He did not see it coming. He certainly had no reason to anticipate what was coming. And there was even no way he could prepare for what was to come. In 1988, there was a story that introduced the Winter Olympics that was quite fascinating. It was a story of how blind skiers were taught to ski. They took them on flats and paired them with the skiers who could see. And the blind skiers followed the directions of the skiers who could see. And they shouted commands, left, right, slow. And then they took them on the slopes and came down right beside them. And the blind skiers crossed the finish line without any incident. So a reporter interviewed a couple of them and asked him how could they have managed to do that without knowing what was ahead of them. And he asked, were you not afraid? But the blind skiers said, no, not really. We learned to trust the eyes of those who could see and followed their command. That seems to be the same sentiments uh, of Job. He was blind to where his life was leading. He was without sight or sense of what life was doing. Have you ever been there? Job experience and those skiers experience are can be actually our own experience. Perhaps even now, some feel like Chippy. Life is sucking you into a vacuum, washing you over with cold and careless circumstances, blowing you with the heat of hinderous headaches. Here are the words in our text in Job 23:10. He says this, but he knows the way that I take, and he has tested me. I will come out as gold. When we seek to understand what Job is saying in this word, it is insightful and instructive. Number one, God knew that trials can challenge your faith. But Job decided not to let trials change his faith. You have to be determined in your spirit and in your mind and in your faith. I will not change my faith. I will not let challenges cause me to lose faith. Afflictions have afflicted upon you, and disappointments can depress us, and failures can frustrate us. Problems can permeate our living space. But you have to decide to place your faith over fear, worship over worry, positive over negative, possibilities over impossibilities. This faith trusts when it's tried. Job says, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Faith in God does not mean that life is exempt from darkness. Either he will provide a flicker of light or he will hold your hand in darkness and guide you through. And then this faith testifies when it's tested. Out of all of Job's experience, the pain, the grief, the rejection, the humiliation, the hurt, the accusations, Job did not lose his testimony of faith. He says, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. He says, I know that my Redeemer liveth and he shall stand at the latter day. One of our greatest challenges in life as people of faith is not to let negativity of life make us negative. We as people of faith have to not allow the mishap of life to make us misunderstand the goodness of God. When life is unfair, he's still fair. When I'm down, he's still the God of my ups. When I'm experiencing severe testing, he is still the God who satisfies my needs. Faith in God cannot be determined by the season or the circumstances. He knows that trials can challenge our faith. But we must decide that we're going to trust in God. And then lastly, he knows that life troubles can be living triumphs. Thomas Kelly said that the caliber of a man and woman's real faith is found in him or her ability to meet the disappointments successfully, enrich rather than narrow it. What you go through can be used to, number one, enrich you, not engage you. Secondly, conquer you or you conquer it. Thirdly, make you victorious or make you a victim. Fourthly, you will decide to be a chump or a champ. You can praise your way through or you can wallow in your pity. When he gets through, you will come forth as pure gold. There are 3 points I want to leave you with. The fires of life will produce purity in you. The fires of life will produce purpose in you. Power of life will produce power in you. Life can just help to manifest your strengths and weaknesses. Periodically, I use the microwave, and the other day, I asked if a personal dish was microwavable. And so my daughter said, I'm not sure, but look at the bottom and it'll tell you if it can handle the heat. It indicated that it could, which meant it had been through the fire. It was a way of saying it's been proven, it's been tried, it's been tested. When God is with you, he pours into you what you need to endure. He pours into you the stuff that keeps life fires from consuming you. When God pours his faith in you, it becomes that very thing that sustains, supports, and supply you with what you need to handle whatever you're facing. God bless you and may God keep you is our prayer.